so much for coming. If you have questions or anything like that, we're doing this as a live Q&A session as well.
If you want to listen to Star Wars podcasts, you have to wait a week for most Star Wars podcasts to come around again.
I used to script it.
We realized that there wasn't necessarily anybody doing anything about Star Wars on a daily basis. It seemed like there was a logical space in the podcasting world to do something like that.
Has it really been that long?
It's been, I feel like it's been a while.
You're nodding, okay.
Alan amazes me. He is a full-time dad, full-time business, full-time husband.
And then go back and...
He finds time. I mean, granted, he doesn't sleep the same amount of time that most mortals do. He usually does the podcast later at night, so I don't even know how he stays creative or stays alert there.
Star Wars 7x7 launched with 4 episodes.
His commitment to a daily creative endeavor to his fans is shocking to me.
Hello over here. This is Fred Butler, who is another patron of the podcast.
Now we're at a point where, we all grew up on Star Wars and it was scarce. There wasn't a lot of Star Wars, and so you really cherished it and you grabbed onto it as tightly as you possibly could. It's really weird to be in a world now where Star Wars is not as precious in that way. I mean, it's still precious because it's a story that matters deeply to multiple generations, but because of the fact that we're going to get so much more of it, we're now kind of being trained by Lucasfilm to not take it as seriously, to not get as like about it or anything like that. And that is beautiful. Now I have a responsibility, and I suppose I set out thinking that was a responsibility I was going to be taking on, but to have people give me the feedback and say, well, this is how Star Wars 7x7 is part of my everyday life, that really brings it closer to home. And so it ends up being kind of a sacred trust in a way. And so the idea of doing it daily, well, it has to be daily. Like, there's no choice about the matter, because there are people listening at breakfast. There are people listening in their cars with their kids, like I was listening to podcasts in the car with my kids. Like, now it's something I have to do. There's no help for it. I have to do it.